What do we know about this intricate, enigmatic, and fascinating organ? Here are 5 different myths about the human brain. We only employ 10% of our brains. The human brain, which weighs slightly over 1.4 kilograms, 3 pounds, contains around 100 billion neurons. The brain contains nearly 1 quadrillion synapses, which are spaces where neurons can communicate with one another. The cerebrum, cerebellum, and brainstem are the 3 main regions of the brain. The majority of the higher-order functions we associate with being human are performed by the cerebrum, which makes up around 85% of the organ. The cerebellum, which manages fundamental coordination and balance, is located beneath it. The brainstem, which is the last component. The majority of your automatic processes, including breathing and digestion, are managed by the brainstem, which is joined to your spinal cord. Sadly, this fact is completely false. The idea that we only use 10% of our brains seems to have originated in the late Victorian era, however we are not sure where exactly. The Wunderkind IQ of Boris Sidis, who graduated from Harvard in the late 1890s, was cited by Harvard psychologists William James and Boris Sidis as evidence that all people are capable of being so smart. We simply need to work harder. Pretty absurd, yes? At the beginning of the 20th century, additional study discovered that rats with cerebral injury could be taught new tasks. This was done to support the already tenuous claim that the human brain is capable of great things. Unfortunately, this factoid has no basis in contemporary science and is entirely absurd. People with a left brain are organized, whereas those with a right brain are creative. Another excellent example of a myth that was changed by others, gained popularity, and eventually came to be accepted as fact is the division of the brain's hemispheres. The majority of activities are actually controlled by both sides of your brain. For instance, using math requires both of your brain's hemispheres. Using the right side wouldn't make sense if we thought that the left hemisphere governs logic and the right hemisphere governs creativity. After all, logic is the foundation of math. When under pressure, the brain performs better. Although the notion is widely accepted, in practice being under pressure only makes you more attentive to the task at hand. People will put off doing a task until the very last minute because increased focus gives them the impression that they perform better under pressure. Cortisol is released more frequently when a brain is stressed out due to strain. A high cortisol level can have negative long-term impacts by impeding learning and memory development. It's time to spread knowledge about the brain to the rest of the world now that you are aware of the 10 biggest myths about it. You will be prepared to respond intelligently the next time someone claims they are left-brained and cannot do something. Different people learn in different ways. The reality is that a number of studies show that there are no differences in how people learn, despite the fact that teachers may attempt to organize their classrooms according to the learning styles of their students. In order to find out what kind of learner they believed themselves to be, hundreds of students participated in a study that was later published in Anatomical Sciences Education. Then, teachers started to modify their lessons according to the students' self-reported learning preferences. The test results of the pupils did not significantly improve, according to scientists. The differences in the brains of males and females affect learning abilities. There are differences in the brains of men and women, and those differences may affect how their brains work. However, there is little evidence that the neural networks that form the connections as we acquire new skills are gender-specific. Even if there are gender differences in the future, they will probably be minimal and based on averages, meaning that they won't necessarily apply to any one person.